All right, and we're going to finish out Module 7 by going over the final part of the chapter, dealing with working with the clip list. So as your session gets larger and you begin to do more and more editing, obviously your clips list will begin to populate. And the more clips you have, the more clutter you often encounter. So the last part of this chapter then deals with ways that you can help manage that large clip list, organize it, etc. So the easiest way to go through your clips list and find material is obviously by auditioning what is currently in the clips list. And we learned how to do that with any tool selected, going in and moving your cursor over top of a file and holding in the Option key will allow you to audition clips. Now remember, if you do not have an audition path set in your I/O setup, you will not be able to audition clips audio, and as far as MIDI goes, you will not be able to audition unless you have the default MIDI through instrument enabled, like we talked about in previous chapters. If you'd like another way to find clips, if the clips list is just so populated and you're looking for a specific clip name, you can go into the sub-menu of the clips list itself and choose Find. Here you're able to filter the clips list by starting to type in the name of the clip. So for example, if I just simply type the letter P, we see that the clips list automatically updates to indicate that I'm filtering the clips list based on what I have typed into the by name field in the Finds clip list. You can obviously type in, for example, piano, and when I type in that, I'm again dynamically given an update in the clips list. You can also, instead of searching by name, you can choose this Include Subsequently Added Clips button, and what this is going to do is put a plus sign in the top of your clips list, and that's basically saying that from this point forward, any new clips that are added to the clips list will populate there. Only clips that are new from that point forward of when you click that button. You can obviously have both of these selected, so you can filter by name and also have Include Subsequently Added Clips active. And then of course you're given your text field here, followed by the plus key, which indicates that you have two types of filters going on. Once you enter a name and you start filtering, the Finds clip list will actually remember after you click OK. It will continue to filter and it will remember that that's the last filter that you've added. Now, if you'd like to remove that filter, you have to go back into the Find dialog and you have to remove that filter from the name field to have it disappear. Notice this, as soon as I start to type something else in here, for example, if I were to go to clarinet, start to type in clarinet, if I bring down this drop-down list, notice how in the top half of this drop-down list, my recently added searches were there. So the piano that I had previously searched for is there. I can easily access it again if I choose to go back and filter it again. So Pro Tools remembers the most recent find criteria that you type into that field. You can, instead of actually initiating a find, you can have Pro Tools store different types of filters by itself. So for instance, if I knew that my session was going to include a guitar track, a piano track, a vocal track, watch what I can do. I can type in guitar and then bring up this menu, insert entry. I already have piano, so vocals, insert entry. And so you can see now that these entries, even though I have no clips listed that go by that name right now, if I were to ever have clips in the future appear that way, I have now some previously entered criteria or filters that I've typed into this field that I can use to filter at a later time. So this can be very, very beneficial. But of course, if you'd like to remove all of these and go back to the very beginning, clean slate, you can go to remove all entries, and then you're back to square one where you have to begin at the very beginning. So you can use the name field. You can also, I'm sorry, not the name field, the find field. You can also, let me clear that out. You can also, once you've found clips, you can obviously remove them, but before we do that, yet another way to find clips or to select certain clips is to utilize this drop-down menu and go to the Select option. You can, for example, select unused clips, clips that are not being used in your edit window in your current session. And sometimes this will become much more populated, obviously, and there will be lots of clips in here that you're just not using, and you can make the decision if you want to remove them or keep them in your session. But you can use this, again, this is filtering. You can also select unused audio except for whole file clips, which means that it's going to filter out not only unused clips, but unused subset clips. So you can use that. You could also filter by offline clips, clips that you are not using or that have been taken temporarily offline so that you do not, they don't play back. You can, of course, select those and then remove them. So let's just say we've gone through that. We can also simply go through here and select clips manually. And we've done this before. You can simply hold in the Shift key, make a range selection. You can select one clip, select non-contiguous clips in here by holding in the Command key, and select this way. Also, notice how when I select a particular clip and I move my cursor over to the left of that selected clip, I get this little marquee grabber. You can actually utilize this to select multiple clips by clicking and dragging, and you can create a selection this way. And if you'd like to select non-contiguous clips using this marquee grabber, again, with the cursor to the left of the selected clip, if you hold in the Command key, just like we would normally do with non-contiguous clips, you can click over here and select this way. You can also remove them from the selection by holding in the Command key and clicking a previously selected option. So let's say we have found clips that we would like to remove from our session using any number of the filters that we've just discussed. The next step would be to remove the clips and get them out of your session. Now, this next part on page 194 and 195 is a rehashing of what we've already talked about in 101, the difference between deleting and removing. Remember, removing will take the clips from your session, remove them from it, but keep the parent audio files, or for example, if they're audio files, it'll keep the whole file clips in your audio files folder for later import, but they will remove anything from your session. And delete, of course, is the option that is destructive and cannot be undone. That is when everything is removed and there's no going back. So just reiterating that whole spiel. And finally, the last part of the chapter deals with some really, really handy features dealing with specifically subset clips. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to take this piano clip up here and I'm just going to create a subset clip of it. So now I look over to my clips list, I have the whole file clip, and now I have obviously the first part of that clip is piano 1, and here's piano 2, which is there's that separation. And you can see that as I select them here in the edit window, they're selected in the clips list. So let's say I wanted to take this portion of this clip and I wanted to export it, or I wanted to use it some other way in another session. Because it's a subset clip, it lives natively in this session, and I cannot, just as it is right now, take this file or this particular clip and import it into another session. There are ways that you can do this, however, and that's what we're talking about here in this specific section. On page 196, the first option that they talk about is the consolidate clips feature. So let's say I take this clip and I want to transform it into a whole file clip, something that I can then export from my session and import into another session. To do this, you have to first select the subset clip that you would like, or really this could be any clip. Select the clip, and then you go up to the edit command, or the edit menu, I'm sorry, consolidate clip. When I do that, a couple of things happened. Number one, you'll see that the file itself, the subset clip, has now become a boldface whole file clip, indicating that it is now a parent audio file or a whole file clip that can be imported into another session, and it's also been renamed. Furthermore, what's even a little bit problematic with this is that, let's say I were to have added a fade out to this particular clip. And when I play this back, okay, so there's my fade out as we would normally think. Now, let's say I take this again and I use that same command, edit, consolidate clip. It replaces the previous clip. You can see the fade out is now gone. It's not gone per se, it's written to this file and it's replaced by the new file that I created. So when I play back this file again, you can see that that fade out has now become part of that file permanently. I can't remove it now. So in other words, it's flattening it. What happens if you have a fade out here, but you do not want to include the fade out? You don't want to have any of the edits that you've done to this subset clip included when you want to export it from your session. You can take care of this by instead selecting a subset clip from the clips menu that does not, or basically you could do it in the clips menu, you could do it here in the edit window, and you can use what's called capture. Better yet, let's take this back to the very beginning. Before I even separated it, let's say I wanted to take this section only. I don't even have to separate it. I don't even have to create a subset clip. What I can do is go to Clip, Capture. And when I choose Capture, I can name this. Let's say Piano Loop. Okay. And now over in my clips list, a subset clip has been created for me. So now I can take this subset clip, drag it into the session, and now I have a subset clip. And from here, I can do one of two things. I can use the same command, the edit consolidate clip, or I can use the other feature they talk about on page 198, which is actually taking this clip and exporting it as a file. You do this through the clips pop-up menu, the sub-menu within the clips list, and you choose Export Clips as Files. From here, you make your selection, what type of file, the bit depth, the sample rate, etc. You choose where you want to rename it, or where you want to send it, and you click Export. And it then will export that file as a whole file clip from your session so that you can import it into your session, another session. And the last thing that they talk about in this chapter, which is a really cool feature, is called exporting clip definitions, or exporting clip definitions to parent files on page 199. So let's say you have tracked drums and you've spent a lot of time chopping those drums up, and you want to share the most recent edits that you've made to the drum set or the drum recording with your other engineer. Aside from completely copying your session and exporting the session data like we learned about and going through a large amount of work, there is no way that that person that you want to share that with would be able to look at all the edits you've done without either physically being there or you sending them, like I said, the session data. In other words, all of the edits that you've made are subset clips of the parent files, and that is local to your session. All of the edits are local to your session. What you can do, though, is you can take all of the subset clips that are associated with a whole file clip in your session, and you can basically write them to the parent file. So what this means is anytime you take that parent file from your audio files folder and you go through the import audio command that we've learned about, Shift Command I, and someone imports a file into their session, not only will it import the whole file clip, but if you export clip definitions, it will import also all of the subset clips that are associated from your session with that file, which is a really, really cool feature. So to do this, what you have to do is you have to select the subset clips that you want to write to their parent audio file. So for example, if I took this and I made some subset clips here, I would take these subset clips that I wanted to have written to this piano audio file, and I would go to the clip list pop-up, export clip definitions. And it reminds you here what it's doing. It's basically writing these subset clips to this piano whole file clip. And you click export, and it's done. And then this is now, all of these edits are now part permanently of that whole file clip. All right, so that wraps up Module 7. I'm going to upload this whole lecture, which is in 5 parts, to YouTube tonight so that you can all view it over the break. And then I'm also going to take care, like I said, of Module 8. So I will see you then.